I want to recognize an anniversary. April 5th was the day that Kurt Cobain killed himself back in 1994.
Allegedly.
It occurred to me that he's been dead now for 28 years. He was alive for 27.
So, jeez, I've never looked at it like that now. Oh.
And now Frances Bean is now older than Kurt was. She's going to be 29, going maybe 30 this year.
But man, what he did with those 27.
Well, I mean, we had this big talk about, Foo Fighters and Taylor Hawkins. And, when you talk about the Foo Fighters, you have to talk about Dave Grohl. And he's been in the Foo Fighters now. 94 was the first Foo Fighters record. And we're in 2022. So we're talking 28 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Nirvana for like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Kurt's dead in 94.
Yeah.
He will always be still the former drummer of Nirvana.
Nevermind was just, it feels weird just to say, but just a game changer, because everybody knows I think it's like something you don't have to say at this point. He's the closest thing that we got to John Lennon that we got to see with our own eyes.
He was a bright flame that didn't burn long enough, but it did burn bright.
Absolutely. That's kind of one of those things, too, that, you always hear if he would have lived, would that flame had at least dulled, know?
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about him at age 55 now, it's kind of hard to do. It is really hard to do. It would have been easier to picture him at 35 or 45, but 55 is harder to do.
Yeah, I just complimented Eddie Vedder on his voice because it's gotten better. I don't know if I would say that about Kurt Cobain if he would have been able to continue on with us. I don't know how long that raspiness would have upheld, and if he would have changed it, what on earth would that have sounded like? And obviously these are all what ifs, but
and on the flip side of that, it does one thing that Kurt Cobain's voice does get to do is stay the same, and it's fine where it's at. Yeah. I mean, not fine that he's gone, but like you know what I'm saying there. It gets to stay that.
And I think you find some people that didn't like his voice. I think he was amazing at melodies and songwriting. Mm-hmm. And I love his voice. The way he is able to sort of scream in a way, but then still hold a melody or hold a tune. I think he's among the very, very top of songwriters and artists, really.
Have you thought about if he hadn't passed away, like where Dave Grohl would have went? Like how long the band would have stayed together? Would he eventually branched off? Did his own thing?
Right.
Good question.
Yeah. Because...
You imagine no Foo Fighters?
Right.
Ooh.
I did want to talk a little bit about Eddie Vedder because they mark a time. I remember that the Even Flow video was in such heavy rotation on MTV that my brother Dick hated it. Just hate. I know it's a big shock to find out that Dick disliked anything. But he did not like it. I guess it was just in the way of the stuff he liked, and it just irked him, And then Versus came out. And Versus was going to be the first record that would sell 1 million copies in 1 week. But it was only 999,999 because Brandon Cash stole me a copy from Walmart.
We've talked about doing that bit on the Vulgar podcast that we run, the best album that you stole.
Oh, good one. Yes, it would definitely be, because Brandon was like, hey, I'm going to Walmart anyway. Is there anything you want? And I was like, you know what? The new Pearl Jam album came out today. It's called Versus because it had gone through a couple of different names, 5 Against 1 and something else. It's the one that has Daughter on it and Better Man and it's got some good songs on it, all right?
To me, it's criminally underrated. It's my second favorite and pretty close to my first favorite Pearl Jam record.
Yeah, they were under a lot of pressure on that second album because the first one hit so hard and they delivered. They delivered big time.
I agree.
Mookie Blaylock, that was, right.
Mookie Blaylock. I remember him from NBA Jam.
Yeah. He's on fire. Yeah, because there's 11 songs on it. Pearl Jam's good at singing. They're not good at counting, I guess.
So with that being said, if we're talking Eddie Vedder, that soundtrack, Into the Wild, is one of my favorite things that he's been a part of. And, it's a lot of ukulele.
Yeah.
I think some mandolin, some guitar. It's really a broken down version of some songs.
Big Hard Sun, man.
Yeah,
Big Hard Sun.
Hard Sun is amazing. I saw him do solo at the Fox in St. Louis, and that was his closer, right? Man, that was such a good show.
Hard Sun?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Because Hard Sun's actually a cover song.
Yes.
From someone.
Yes.
And they did it well.
From the band.
It was a good, the original version of that song was really good, too. I forget who it was, too.
It says the songwriter is G. Peterson.
I am a better man.
This stuff makes you want to go out into the wild, man. It's crazy.
Into the wild, yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring that up and the reason I played that coming in is that McVay, you remind me a little bit his story with the movie Into the Wild with Alexander Supertramp and real life person Chris McCandless, based on the book Into the Wild by John Krakauer. But the movie Into the Wild, you know, you're not doing exactly the same way, and maybe the meaning behind it is different or whatever it is to you. But you do something I would say is kind of similar to that.
I'm getting there. I was just having this conversation with my sister. I'm kind of veering that way, man. Just as I get older, dude, less is more to me. You know what I mean? I'd feel way down of like the everyday grind of, you know, what we got going on. I feel like I find myself a lot more when I'm out by myself in nature. There's no, you know, buildings. There's no car noises. You're listening for animals and the wind blowing through the trees. I know that sounds sappy or whatever you want to say, man, but it's until you experience it, you don't feel it until you actually get out there and be vulnerable. Because you're vulnerable out there, man. And for me, I don't carry a gun because I travel. I don't know the gun laws between like states, so I'm not traveling across the country with a pistol or a gun. I haven't done my research on it, so I got a machete and a couple knives I take with me, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
you just came back from a trip, right?
Yeah. It was a couple detours. Did some camping in Colorado. Just a random camping spot off the highway in between some mountains with a river running through it.
I've talked about it on other podcasts that home's home to me. It's where I was born and raised and where my kids were born and going to be raised until they start doing their own thing. But, man, I could easily see myself retired in Colorado.
Beautiful state.
Yep, beautiful.
I had a line of cars behind me because I was going 40 miles an hour down the highway because I just couldn't stop looking at what was around me, you know.
I can resonate with that.
Right. Like I asked the lady in the dispensary, I said, how are you not late to work every day? She goes, oh, the roads do get bad in the wintertime. I go, that's not what I'm talking about at all. That's not what I'm talking about at all. So I wanted to read something, and I know that it's one of your favorite quotes. Just tell me what you think about when you hear this. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discovered that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear, nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms.
That's deep.
I know the answer if this is trivia.
No, it's not. Yeah, that's Walden from Henry David Thoreau.
Yeah.
And there's some quotes in there, some lines. When I came to die, I discovered that I had not lived.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Would there be a bigger tragedy when you're laying on your deathbed and saying, I'm dying right now, and not to get way too deep or anything.
No, dude, I'm so glad you said that.
I'm dying right now, but I haven't even lived. I've been dying this whole time, whether it's 90 years or whatever.
I'm so glad you brought that up, man.
I couldn't describe that in an hour and a half, and he described it in like 8 words.
Yeah, that's why he's great.
Right. And I'm
no, what gives me motivation is, R.I.P. Grandma. She passed away not this past Christmas, but 2 Christmases ago. And every time I'd go over and see her, man, she always said, dude, go see the world. Like, I'm 90 years old, at the time. I've lived in Missouri all my life, and I haven't hardly seen any of it because she was a homebody. She never, we would drive down to the country, and that was it. And I hear people, talk about being on their deathbed and regretting not doing stuff. And I have this, it's crazy, man. I have this fear why I travel so much. It's no matter how much I go travel, I'm never going to be able to see everything that the world has to offer. There's some stuff that I'm just not going to be able to see because I don't have enough time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what motivates me too, man. Like, we have so many national parks just in our country. So that's why I went to Utah, and I seen 2 in one day. They were literally 45 minutes away from each other.
And And that's one of my favorite parts of the country. I haven't went as far as you did, but we're getting ready to. Me and my family are getting ready to this summer.
If you go to Moab, you got Canyonlands, you got Arches, all in one day.
And those
all in one day.
Those are 3 of the heavies. My biggest one that I do want to see is El Capitan, El Cap.
These guys climb that with free soloing.
Oh my God!
Think about that. Think about that.
Free solo.
That movie made me want to vomit.
Oh my!
Dude, were you not on the edges of your seat the whole time with sweaty palms?
Absolutely, I was.
All right, so you see stuff like that, and you don't have to go to extreme with it. But if that doesn't motivate you to want to get up and go out and see what nature has to offer, I don't know what will.
In my travels,
I'm not saying go out there and climb some mountain. Just go out there and explore, dude. You're going to go out and see some stuff that you never thought you were going to believe existed.
In my travels, I have picked up my phone to take a picture and put it right back down and was like, nah, there's no way my camera's going to capture this at all. Like, come around the corner and think, wow, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And then come around the next corner and go, no, wait, this is the most beautiful. Fuck the last thing. Like, I remember coming around the corner, it was somewhere in the desert in Nevada, and was like, fuck you, Bob Ross.
I say that a lot. I say that a lot.
You think you can paint? Man, look at this. Look at what I got.
Well, see, I always say, I don't say fuck Bob Ross. I say, dude, this looks like a fucking Bob Ross painting. And then, like, people around me, they'll say the same shit, man. They'll chuckle. And there was, because I was hiking in Arches National Park, and dude, I'm sitting under this big old arch, man. And there's a couple parents up there with the smallest one. She's up there just climbing away. 13-year-old son's down there on his phone. All right, dude, he lit the timeout. He literally said this to his parents. All right, time limit's up. Time to go back to the car. Dude, I wanted to go, bro. I wanted to go down there and be like, man, you don't even know it, but this right here is the best. This is going to be some of the best times of your life. You're going to be like me. You're going to be 37 looking back and wish you had those times, bro.
And you're not going to tell your kids, like, in one time when we were at the Arches, I told my parents to get back in the car because the time limit was up. Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
It blew my mind.
I was watching
he was
that
scrolling
YouTube
through,
video.
Man.
They did
scrolling
not
through and like, all right, mom, dad,
had
time
to check
limit's
my
up.
likes.
I'm like, dude.
But what we sit here as close to 40 or 40-year-old guys, and if I was 13, I'm not sure that's not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was 13.
Yeah. So
I can say that as a 40-year-old man now, but when I'm 13, that might as well been me.
So I've noticed a little observation out here.
And stay off of my lawn, kids.
going on these trips. I feel like that's more of our culture when they go out and visit that stuff because they don't really know how to truly appreciate it. Now, when you go out to the West Coast and West Coast families are out, dude, they're not on their phones. Grown-ups got walking sticks. The little kids got they got gear on. Like they're out and they're in just a sponge. Like I watched this kid was probably 6 years old, climbed up. There was like grown-ups scared to climb up where we were. Dude, he climbed up and he posted up like this with his hands. And he's like, Mom, this is so beautiful. This kid's
cool.
like, I looked at her. I was like, dude, that's how I feel inside right there. Like that little kid, like, he's like, all right, come down. He's like, no, I'm not coming down, Mom. I'm staying up here. This is beautiful. I'm like, dude, it literally legit almost made me start tearing up.
That's cool.
We're going to exclude LA from that West Coast.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
They don't get included that because I went to Griffin
Observatory where Adele sings.
Words are hard.
ROAD.
Yeah.
Observatory. And, there's a bunch of trails right there. And it's constant. It's just nothing but people on their phones walking up and down. I mean, even on the road, people are trying to wind through and drive and park and stuff. And it's like nothing but phones.
The Hollywood sign's not far from there, right?
You're on a clear day when there's no smog, you can see it great. It's a great shot of it.
They say the fucking smog's the reason they have such beautiful fucking sunsets.
Yeah. But it's a great view of it if the smog isn't heavy.
Yeah.
If it is, you will not see it.
So here's my travels. My brother passed away, and he was cremated. And at first, there were some places here in town I wanted to spread his ashes on our dad's grave in Farmington. But Brightwell Park, where we played baseball, at the middle school football field where there was real grass. I'd even gotten permission from the high school to do this. But then I had to go out to California to visit a friend, and I needed to deliver him some money that I owed him, and I didn't want to mail it. So I was like, I'm going to go out here. And so I thought I would take this little piece of therapy I was going to have for my brother and just expand it. And so the first place I went to visit was the place they spread Donnie's ashes at the end of the Big Lebowski. Mapped it out, Went to a couple different places that gave me addresses on where this scene was filmed, and got 2 different addresses, and was like, oh shit, who knows what what this is. But it turns out it was an intersection because it's a skate park now. And so it faces this way on this street and this way on this street. So it has 2 addresses.
Okay.
But it's the same place, right? So I went there. It's fenced off, but as soon as you walk up to it, you go, holy shit, that's where they spread Donnie's ashes right there,
nice.
and they spread all over the dude, and why is everything about Vietnam, man? But so I did that. I even went to Ralph's and got a can of Folgers to put his ashes in.
You went full Donnie on this.
Yes, I did. I mean, it was.
Might as well. You drove all the way out, right?
Yeah, right. And
got to do it right.
like I just knew that my brother would have fucking dug that, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it made me brother of the year, but it got me fucking nominated.
I voted for you.
So on the way back from there, on the way out, we also stopped in Colorado. We went to South Park County and spread some ashes there on Tally. And then, and we stopped in Vegas and, spread some ashes there.
Can I interject on the Colorado thing real quick?
Yeah.
On a future episode of something, we're going to talk, because I know you also went by Columbine.
I went to Columbine and I went to Aurora. I went to the movie theater too.
Because I actually been to Columbine too. I didn't go to Aurora.
Yeah.
Talking about a weird experience.
It's weird,
man.
right? So, my friend picked up her camera. I said, "Put that down. Put that down. It's not a tourist attraction. You're here to the solemnity of the moment."
I think that might come off weird to some people, but to me, it's just as much as we have great history. I have a little Funko Pop of George Washington and Ben Franklin up there. As much as we have some really great things, there's also a darker side to our history as well.
Absolutely.
And it's just as much a history lesson as visiting something else.
Exactly.
When I was in California, man, I went by OJ's house. I mean, fuck yeah, I went by OJ's house.
Went to the wrong one though.
I went to the Manson murder houses.
The very first thing I did when I went to
see that
Dallas.
shit. Yes.
I went straight
You went to the
down
book depository.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's a weird feeling too.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
There's an X on the road where you can stand where he got the headshot.
You're not
There's
supposed
an
to
X
stand there.
on the- Why'd
Pawn.
they put the X there, man?
Why is his pants off, Sharon? So I've been there too, and man, it felt like, because you see it so much in movies and documentaries and pictures, it felt like a movie set to me.
Yeah, you walk up and you see the building, right? And then you just hang the way I went anyway. You hang to the left and start walking down, and then you see the grassy knoll, and you're like, you start taking it all in. You're like, maybe there is something to this. Maybe this all could have happened,
I agree. Me actually being there, and we've talked about this before on different podcasts, and we're going to talk about it more on another one. It made me think, man, being there and actually seeing like the logistics of it, because even like they should, if you were going to do this, if you were going to try to shoot somebody in a car, there's literally from the book depository a head-on shot for like, I don't know, like 2.5 blocks or something.
Yes.
But then they make the turn and he's going away, and it's
And anybody knows.
logistically it does not make sense.
It does not make sense.
If you have to fire 3 shots, your first shot's the most accurate, and in this case, it was the third shot that was most accurate. That doesn't even make sense unless it was just complete luck, and he just happened to get him on a headshot on that third shot.
And maybe they're because they look calm in the car. I was going to say maybe there was a shot that the Zapruder didn't get, but
the
they were
car is
calm.
accelerated. Your target's wounded, so it's moving. So the first shot should have been the most accurate, and it wasn't. But anyway, so my brother died, and
Keep bringing that up.
that's what set me on this path across the country. Man, we have such a beautiful country. On the way back through, I stopped in Fort Sumner, New Mexico, and spread some ashes on Billy the Kid's grave. It actually says "pals" on it, just like in the movie it does, right? And we went to Graceland. We went to see Hank Williams Sr.'s grave.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's really
Birmingham.
cool. Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it?
Birmingham, yeah.
We went to. I put some in the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico on the same day, and it was therapy for me. Riding along, I'd have sometimes I'd have him buckled into the passenger seat. And had a mix of Spotify songs that I knew that he liked, some that I knew that he didn't like, but I got to pick the music now.
That's pretty much the premise of Elizabethtown.
Yeah. At least the end of it.
It's well, I mean, it was some
Hold on, Dick let you drive.
some songs change meanings though, because now I can't ever listen to Dick in the Box in the same way.
Oh, jeez.
You've been waiting on that joke. You've been sitting on that one.
When it occurred to me when I was driving through Atlanta, and I looked over and went, "Oh my God, now you're Dick in a Box! Oh my God, now you're Dick in a Box!"
I always say one of my funniest jokes ever, probably the only time I've ever been funny in my life, was at your brother's funeral scheduling.
Yes, we were planning out when Dick's funeral was going to be. We told him it was going to have to be after 420, of course, because we were
Right.
punch and pie. We wanted to make sure everybody knew there was going to be punch and pie. Yeah, they asked Dick's occupation, and you said...
They're like writing the obituary or something, weren't they? And they're like, and what was his occupation? And I said, PlayStation or hanging out.
Madden.
That's what it was. Oh, yeah, what was Dick really good at? Madden. I think traveling's therapeutic for me too, especially the drive. You know, where when you're in control and things are passing by you, and I don't know if you're listening to music or whatever you're doing, but to me, that's therapy. I love a long road trip, long drive. I'm all about.
I do both. There's some times where I'll drive with no music. You'll hit stretches, man. There's been times where I'll be out in the desert on a highway and I won't pass somebody for 3 or 4 hours with no cell phone service. So, like, when you're out there, you really got to pay attention to how much gas you have. You always got to pay attention to read every freaking sign that's posted. Always check for the service signs, because there's stretches out there. You go 150, 180 miles without seeing a gas station.
I had to double back at one point driving through Utah. I realized I wasn't going to make it to the next station. Had to turn around the
I
highway.
actually ran out of gas out in the fucking desert, and I got to use my free OnStar. I had my Jeep for 2 months. Haven't even had legal tags on it, and I ran out of gas. I was a mile away. I could see the gas station, and I had to hit the OnStar button, and it took her 4 hours to get there.
So you're halfway Amish with some of this shit, but when it comes to OnStar,
Hey, so,
We need that technology,
so that's
baby.
funny. Listen, that's
you
funny.
ain't checking out on any
All
OnStar.
right, so it's funny you say that, because like I completely forgot I had it. I've never had a vehicle like that. I've always bought like a basic, like I've never had anything like that. So I'm fucking like, I get my manual out and I'm flipping through, and I'm like, I get to the OnStar page and I'm like, oh shit. I look up there and I was like, I hit my dome light. I was like, I got fucking OnStar, man. So I hit it, and this
Talk
lady
about
comes
a
in.
gift. It's like God delivered you OnStar.
Yeah, so this lady pops up and she's like, can you give me like your coordinates? So I had to, I'm like longitude, latitude, had to read that
Old
shit
school.
out. All old school shit. And
When did you ever do that old school? You didn't do that old school either. Nobody had to give out fucking coordinates.
they fucking found me. It
You
took
spent
them 4
how many
hours.
months in fucking middle school learning longitude and latitude for that one event?
Through OnStar. But yeah, man, this 60-year-old lady, it was like 4 a.m. and it was cold, dude. I was in my passenger seat or my driver's seat in my sleeping bag. It was like 10 degrees. And I was on the side of the road, just out in the middle of nowhere. And these 18-wheelers, every time one would pass, dude, my vehicle would shake.
Oh, wow.
And it was complete dark. So, I got 2 sunroofs, like one's like a shade. So I peeled the shade back and I just stared at the stars, because when you're out there in nowhere, there's no light pollution. Mm-hmm. Like you can sit there and watch the satellites buzz through orbit. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
So it's super bright, almost like a light is on in a way, right?
Dude. Yeah, man. So like an example of that, I went to, I did a 4-day trip. I went from Mount Hood to the Alvord Desert. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
I don't know.
It's in Southeast Oregon. It's where Jessie Combs, she set the landmark for fastest in a vehicle by woman.
Oh, okay. So it's super flat.
Yeah, super flat. It's
Desert.
it's a dried up lake.
Is there water there?
So okay, it's
only a
funny you
mirage.
say that. So the only water that makes it out on the lake is from the hot springs, which I got to fucking sit in. I was by myself, butt ass naked, because clothing is optional in Oregon at the hot springs. If you want to jump in.
Good to know.
Oh yeah, dude. It's
Finally.
it's a whole different level out there. But so I sat in there for about 5 hours and I watched the sun go down, and you can hear coyotes in the background. So here I am sitting in this tub of hot water. I can literally control like how hot it gets. There's two levers on it, and yeah, man, sun went down. There's coyotes howling in the background, and I literally got the stars popping up one by one. And it's stuff I've never knew existed, because back here there's light pollution.
Yeah, there is.
We were talking about the darker underbelly of America, and it was one of the things. In some of my travels, I was working for WIS doing inventory for Walmart, so I was all around the Midwest. And it was kind of neat to see on the side of banks in some places in northern Missouri and southern Iowa that said Jesse James robbed this bank on this date.
Yeah.
Like we have a, there's a commemorative plaque. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that we honored that side of America too.
Isn't that crazy that we celebrated crooks that that rob banks and shit?
Like, and I wonder if there's if that exists for other criminals. Like I'm sure that like
other countries,
like the Photograph or what was it called, the Biograph Hotel movie theater where John Dillinger was killed. That's like a tourist attraction now, I'm sure. Billy the Kid's grave, obviously, so maybe the spot where Bonnie and Clyde were gunned down or something like that, But I wonder if there's like,
well,
plaques commemorating their crimes too.
I don't know if it's as much of honoring that type of thing as it is, hey, we can there's a way to make money off of this.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I've been to the house that Jesse James was shot in, and like there's a bulletproof glass over the hole in the wall, and there's the painting, the Home Sweet Home painting that he was going to straighten out, and just that somebody's making money off of what this guy did, and he was a murderer,
Right?
Yeah.
Going back to you just traveling and seeing stuff, like one of my childhood heroes growing up, because I was track and cross country runner, was Steve Prefontaine. Well, I was staying out in Oregon, and I was like, dude, I'm going on this five-day road trip. I'm going to drive up to Coos Bay. It was 4 hours out of my way. I was like, fuck it, I got the time. So I drove around, drove by his school, drove by, by his house, his gravesite. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, man, it was neat.
So I think Moses lives up that way.
Yeah, Dale, what town did you say he lived in?
Because I think he
he's
brought
probably
up
about-
Prefontaine actually.
Oh, then if he's probably close. Then he's probably 3 or 4 hours from where I'm staying.
Okay.
Let's take a break, but because I got to bail on you guys, but I want to say goodbye to everybody before we go, especially this guy over here, Dale Stoutler. All right, so I'm going to get out of here.